Welcome back to Finally Free. My name is Khalid Abdul-Qaadir, and today I'm joined with a special guest, Miss Kim Davis. Now, Kim is the president and CEO of the Heartland Black Chamber here in Kansas City. And how are you doing today?
I am good. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. Happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here. I almost thought I missed it.
Yeah, you get your days mixed up.
Right.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you like what you hear today, like, subscribe, hit the alert bells. Got to remember to say that. All right. So I'm going to just jump right into it.
Okay. Let's go.
Something I want to talk about. It is a conversation that is had in the Black community a lot. And there's a lot of opinions on it. But I've never really heard any real explanations as far as like what potential solutions could be or really what is the problem.
Okay.
And what I want to talk about is the black dollar.
The black dollar.
The black dollar.
Okay.
Okay. So we talk about how money circulates in certain communities. And the saying is that the black dollar doesn't circulate even once. Why do you think that is?
Well, first, I think we make the mistake of saying the black dollar because the dollar is not black. The dollar is green. So let's start there. One of the reasons that our money does not circulate in our communities is because, one, we have not established businesses that attract the dollar. So if I am going to spend my money, and I don't care where I spend it, if you have what I need or what I want, I'm going to spend it, and I don't care what community you're in. We have a tendency to look at the black dollar, and I'll put quotation marks behind it.
Black and green dollar, we got that.
As a symbolism. The biggest problem is we have not established a place or a product or service in our community and set up our businesses to be prepared to receive the money. We have taken our money outside of the community, and some of it goes back to the civil rights movement. So during the sit-outs and, when they had the bus boycotts and all the things that happened that caused the opening up of the white stores and the white establishments to accept our money moved out of the community, but our businesses did not. And we did not follow the money. We just let the money leave us. Now, if you look around the communities today, there's black businesses all over the city.
Right.
There are black businesses everywhere. And some of them are thriving very well because they have decided to be businesses. So you have to decide to be a business. And when you're a business, you look at making money and generating jobs, generating revenue, generating jobs. And you go where you can do that. So we tend to look at our business on a socialistic mindset instead of a business mindset. And the business mindset says, first, if I'm going to have a brick and mortar, I need to see where my foot traffic is going to be. If I'm going to have a brick and mortar, I need to know what part of the city is going to attract the best demographic. If I'm going to be in the urban core, how do I create an atmosphere or an environment around my establishment that will attract not just the black dollar in my community, because you got to also remember the urban core community, the average salary median could not even sustain the need of a business there. Right. You need to have other money. So I think about, and I always use the Mexican restaurants because I love Mexican food like a lot of us. But you can go down Southwest Traffic Way any day, not just Taco Tuesday. There's Mexican restaurants back to back, side by side. They are packed. And how many people that look like us walk in and out of those places every day?
30, 40%.
40%. As a matter of fact, I have a member in the chamber. He joined the chamber because 35% of his customers are black. So what makes us go there and not go to the restaurants in our community?
That's a good one. So basically, you boil it down to infrastructure. It's an infrastructure thing as far as the Black community's infrastructure itself, being able to sustain a business within the community, and then also this social versus business mindset.
Yes.
Right. So I may have a business that I can start or a business idea that I have, and instead of thinking about it from a purely capitalistic standpoint, I might be thinking about it from a social standpoint. So I'm going to put it in a location that appeals to the social aspect of it, but not necessarily the ability of the business to function and thrive.
Oh my God, you just hit it on the head. Absolutely. That's one of the biggest mistakes that we made and misunderstanding that the American population, but specifically because my concern and focus is on the Black community, but that is a misunderstanding and miseducation in the Black community. So we have, since civil rights, have stopped investing in ourselves and started with the expectation that we're owed something. And so everything we do with good intentions. Don't get me wrong. I want to say that when we establish our businesses in our own communities, it is because we want to see our community thrive, or a better community. However, this is a capitalistic system, and our businesses have to understand how capitalism works in order to understand how a business in America will work.
Yeah.
So I just had a State of the Chamber event. We all have those every quarter. And one of the reasons I decided to do that is because all the talk around tariffs, and I asked probably 10, 15 of my members that are small businesses what they thought the tariffs were going to do to their businesses. And they all said nothing.
They said it wasn't going to do nothing?
It wasn't going to do nothing.
Oh, okay.
Or,
You're wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a lot of them don't even understand, the situation of being a business and how to be a business. And I think now more than ever is the time for us to step back away from the socialistic ideal and really get out here and remember how we have always been resilient, we've always thrived, and we've always figured out a way to make it over the finish line. Let me put it like that. So one of the things we talk about Black Wall Street, and everybody thinks in their mind that Black Wall Street thrived because the black people in the community kept the money circulating in the community. My question has always been this. Tulsa was built by first-generation freed slaves. Now, there was a gentleman that went there that had some money in his pocket. He was from the North, and he understood, and he made state claims, and he helped them establish. But the dollar, even the dollar that he had, came from more of the white establishment.
Yeah.
So how do we get in the mindset that we want their dollar too? And then once we get our money, why do we go back and we're hollering, you owe us something, but we'll go and invest in something that they've created, something that they have exploited, and something that we make popular. So you look at cars, you look at the Nielsen's ratings.
Yep.
We are the
Cadillac.
The biggest consumers.
Yeah.
We set the trend on what kind of car people are driving. Range Rovers have been around forever until the Black community and the Black entertainers started riding around in Range Rovers. A Range Rover, a Land Rover, that's nothing new. They've been around for ancients, but they became popular.
Yeah.
The same thing with the Mercedes, the same thing, even now the Genesis. You think about just in cars, look at the clothing trend. The only thing, the only clothing trend that we did not set that I think that we picked up on is wearing pajamas in the grocery store. That didn't start with us. We added the bonnet, but I'm just saying the things that we have established, we haven't figured out how to leverage it to our benefit. And because we go back to this socialistic mindset.
Well, that's a good point because it touches on this idea of trust. Because I think that an issue that the Black community has with its relationship to Black businesses is a level of trust.
Yes.
Black folks don't trust Black businesses.
Black folks don't trust Black folks.
Black folks don't trust Black folks.
I mean, that's the one thing. Okay, so the one thing I'm gonna say, and you guys know me, I'm gonna keep it real, whether I'm in this room or any other room. And if we don't stop sugarcoating things or trying to smooth them over, let's keep it real. Then we can address the problem and fix it.
Yeah.
And Black people don't trust Black people.
I agree. For the most part, it's something that we are actually actively working on.
Yes.
So, like, for example, I grew up being predisposed to my community, so I developed a natural tendency that when I got around other Black men, I immediately felt, I'm thinking worst case scenario.
Yes.
I'm imagining what's going to happen or how I'm going to deal with this situation if these other Black men try to do something to me.
We've already developing contingency plans on how am I going to handle this situation,
Right.
even when there is none.
When there is none.
Yeah.
And if I'm thinking like that, how would I expect, some white folks to think differently, number one? But number two, this is something that as I've gotten older, I now actively have to dismantle.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I
Yes.
get around my brothers, other Black men, and I have to, as soon as I have that inclination, I let it go, and then I go up and introduce myself, smile, hug other Black men, and do that kind of thing.
Yes.
But that's something that's relatively new for at least my generation.
Well, I mean, it's the same with Black women. There has always been this stigma that Black women are catty. They can't work together. They're jealous. They hate each other. And
Angry. Yep.
And for years, I didn't have girlfriends. My friends were my sister. My sisters, if you weren't related to me and you were a female, nah. But as I've gotten older and I understood that this was a tactic even, because a lot of things that we see on television, I even think about like reality shows. They're really, really good at showing us fighting each other. Like knock down, tear down, drag out, cuss each other out.
Love and hip hop.
Oh my God. Any housewife.
Yeah.
Any housewife. I'm like,
Atlanta basketball wives.
You're a housewife. What do you have to be
What's
mad
the
about? Like you don't even have to get up. The thing is, there are so many negatives that we have established in our community that we're more attracted to. So you think about, there was a time during, people always use slavery as the reason that the Black people, and I won't say people, we as Black people, and I'm going to use the word love to use slavery as our crutch for why we can't get ahead. So, and many of great scholars that I respect to the highest have used this same thing. However, I think about in the tragedy of slavery, we fought to be freed and to get the education and to invest in ourselves and to build families. And now that it's easier for us to do it, not that we're no longer under the thumb of somebody making us do certain things. We won't even work toward building strong families with a husband and a wife and children and education and health care and a spiritual relationship, regardless to whatever your belief is. We're not building any of that anymore. And we're not under any pressure to do or not do. We sit around all day long waiting for the negative thing to talk about instead of saying, I remember when they were talking about the critical race theory. And it was a big deal about it being taken out of school. And I was getting phone calls as a chamber, of course, anything Black, they call me. And I'm like, so let me ask you this. How many times have you sit down and taught your kid? Because what you teach in your own home, they can't tell you not to.
Right.
Whether they teach it in the school or not. Mm-hmm. There was a time they wouldn't teach you at all. So why are we waiting on them to tell us our history when we should be passing down the information ourselves?
Oh, yeah, I agree. And just, one comment on critical race theory. I always point this out whenever the CRT discussion comes
Come on, yeah, give it to me.
The most egregious critical race theory is the racial theory that God is white. So I
totally.
I tell my,
But see that goes back. Uh-huh. That goes back to what we teach our children.
Yeah.
First of all, honestly, nobody knows what race God is or if God is a race at all. Let's start there.
Exactly. But once they racialize it,
now it's
theorized.
That's right.
And it's critically theorized.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is what's in the church. This is what's been pumped to black people, et cetera, et cetera. So if we are going to say CRT is not appropriate,
let's say
then
this
we
is
need
what
to talk
has
about
been
Jesus,
pumped.
White J.
Has been pumped to black people in America.
Yeah.
You're a world traveler. You know there's other countries that know God in a different form. Mm-hmm. Let's just put it like that. Yes, that is the most egregious. Mm-hmm. But again, these are things that we should be teaching our children ourselves.
In the home. I agree.
In our home.
I agree. You don't need a curriculum or a legislator to teach your children what you want to teach them in the kitchen, around the dinner table.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, and about your history, good, bad, or indifferent. Another thing that I think is horrible in our community is that we've bitten off the proverbial apple that we are just the snake in the tree. It's like, I remember when I was younger, and it didn't hit me till I got older, that if on the news, if something came on about a murder or a robbery or something terrible in the community, I remember hearing my grandmother say, "Is he colored?"
Yeah.
And I found myself, as I got older, saying, "Is he black?" Mm-hmm. Oh, I hope it's not a black. And I'm like...
I still do that. I do that today. I hear about a mass shooting. When I see it was a black dude, I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's people.
Yeah.
It's not the race.
Yeah.
And we have a tendency to have drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak, that we can judge a people or a group of people based on the actions of one. Now, if they're black or if they're foreign. Yeah. Now, we can have a white man go into school and massacre the whole school.
And be treated as an individual.
And it's an individual who has a mental health issue.
Yeah, that one person.
Even though that one person with the mental health issue was so mental that they sat at a computer and they figured out how to get firearms and how to... But you find in the black community where an argument breaks out, people get shot, and they are low-life criminals that need to be executed.
Right.
So, I mean, there's things that that we need to address within our own communities.
For sure.
We cannot continue to allow our culture and our stories to be told by somebody else.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think that's what happens even when we go back. Let's go back to the black dollar. Mm-hmm. Our story is told by someone else. We're told where to go spend our money. We're told, believe it or not. I mean, I know back when I was in the 70s, they start talking about subliminal messages. Mm-hmm. Those messages about, is he black? Is he black? Did the robberies that's happening in Waldo, when I saw it was a white guy that went through the glass in Waldo, I was like, wow, yes, it's a white guy. Now, why would I say that? Why would I be happy that it was a white guy that went in instead of a black guy?
Well, because you know that as black people, the repercussions are shared.
Yes,
you know
that's
what I mean?
it.
the stigma is shared.
That's it. You're absolutely
so,
right.
you know, there is a level of trauma associated with that.
Yeah.
And that's why you see, you know, Black folks asking that question.
Yeah. But, and I'm going to say this. This is the interesting thing. You know, I'm a pastor also, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a pastor at a United Methodist Church, which is predominantly white. Mm-hmm. My congregation are the most loving, the most supportive, the most open-minded, and the most believing that I've met. And I grew up in a Black United Methodist Church and saw how some of our members would treat new pastors when they came in. Mm-hmm. Black pastors coming into a Black church.
Yeah.
And how we Christians who are supposed to believe in God, regardless to whatever everybody else is saying, we have this belief in God, and we understand that there's only two things that we need to really worry about is love God and love your neighbor. And yet and still, we miss the whole mark. Mm. We miss the whole mark. We look for something wrong in everybody that walks through those church doors instead of opening our arms and welcoming them in. And we're not receiving or we don't even accept change.
Right.
And so I do want to say that in that space there are people that don't judge us as a whole. But when you look at how the message is put out,
yeah, the media,
yeah, even our own media,
yeah,
our own media, mm-hmm. how we put those messages out, it's unbelievable.
Right.
Go ahead.
So let me ask you this. So people talk about these Black communities that we had in the yesteryears, Black Wall Street, etc. Uh-huh. We know that these communities were self-sufficient, mm-hmm. but we do know, as you mentioned earlier, that they did also attract the white dollar. Mm-hmm. A big reason for that was because during World War I, America was so racist at the time that they believed that the people who should be serving in the military needs to be the vanguard,
yes,
the highest level members of society. So they were sending doctors and teachers and lawyers and stuff, business owners. And so it created a vacuum when all the white men went to war, and their white families that were back home had to travel to the neighboring Black city.
That's right.
To get their goods and services.
That's right.
And a lot of that had to do with what sustained those communities from the early 1900s into the 1920s when they were demolished.
But destroyed. This is the thing, mm-hmm. because the story does not end in 1920 when they were attacked. They rebuilt.
Right. They did rebuild it.
And they flourished mm-hmm. into 1940.
Yep.
And so what that tells me is not only, yes, they had to come there, mm-hmm. but because they received such good service and the products were quality, that they kept coming back. Because you will spend your money mm-hmm. on what makes you feel good or what is good.
What works.
What works.
No matter
where it comes from.
Yeah, everybody want to, stereotype China as being like this cheap product and stuff like that.
Everything you have comes from China.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing in America that's even manufactured. All the made in America, mm-hmm. if you go through their supply list, their supply chain, and you will find a widget, a screw, a nut, a bolt, a piece of fabric, a string that makes this thing work. Mm-hmm. Something in it is from China.
Yeah, they'll make the T-shirts in Bangladesh or somewhere like that, China, what have you, and then send them to the United States and then just sew the tag on that says "Made in America."
Made in America.
Yeah. But my question, me bringing up the environment or the special case of World War I, which created that business opportunity for the Black community. How would you see our current situation? Like what condition would allow the Black business community to enter the market or receive that kind of inflow of customer base without some kind of external activity creating that for like World War One did for the early black communities in the 1900s, early 1900s?
Well, one of the things is it's hard to say that because we are no longer a locked-in community.
Right.
So as a chamber that covers a region, I cover 4 states. So I have members that are in Overland Park, Black-owned businesses in Olathe, businesses that are in Manhattan, businesses that are in Raymore and Grandview and Oak Grove. So it's no longer about what attracts the white business to that community. It's how do we make the environment around the business that we have attracting and safe.
The environments around the businesses, that's a good one as well.
The environment around the businesses that are attractive and safe. I'm very interested, and I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. I know that it needs to start with Black leadership in our communities, Black developers, Black advocators and activists, and our politicians. All of us who have a vested interest in impacting these communities, our leadership coming into a room and sitting down and truly collaborating, not it's my ideal or I got to be in charge or I want to be the one that everybody recognize. It has to be, and I don't care who does it. But where we come in a room and seriously sit down and say, how do we change the way the urban core, and I don't like the word urban core because if you go east of Truth, it's urban core, west of Truth, it's Midtown. I don't get that, but okay. But again, how do we get to the space where we are investing in our businesses and then teaching our businesses how to invest in themselves?
Well, that's a good segue into this program that you're starting.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
Are you talking about StrideSphere or are you okay, so one of the things that I found interesting, and it all started when the airport new airport was coming up, and everybody was vying to get a piece of the airport. And I had just become the chamber leader, and I had a lot of contractors come to me and say, "Hey, I want a piece of that airport. I want a piece of that airport." And my question was, okay, send me your financials, send me your capability statement. I need your largest contract completed, successfully completed, what you're working on now. And I need to know what your capacity for workforce is. And I got everything from a snapshot of a landing page to somebody's resume. But I realized then that we have great skilled contractors out here, but they are not businessmen and women, and women.
Like some of the organizational skills.
Not only that, they don't even understand the industry they're in. So because you work for, I'm not going to call him my big contractor, so I'll say because you work for a big electrical company and you're a great electrician and you want to venture off on your own, you don't know what goes on in the administrative corporate side of that business. So what I learned was our small businesses have been fed the ideal that the larger businesses should carry them because there is a goal for them to meet so that we can bridge the wealth gap. In theory, that's a great ideal. But reality is, if I'm a business, I don't understand the terminology spoken in the construction business. I asked one of my contractors, tell me, how are you with your submittals? He said, I submit my proposals on time. That's not even, your proposal should have been done. When I'm talking about submittals, if you're an electrician, you need to submit your plan so that the architects and engineers can look at it and make sure that you're following the plan that is on the specifications.
Right.
And so if you don't understand just daily reports, what does that mean? If you don't have the workforce, it doesn't mean you can't get there, but it means somebody has got to do the work to get you to the understanding of the industry.
They got to get you up to speed before you can even get to doing the job.
Yes. And then the next big thing was forecasts. We are always reacting to opportunities instead of being proactive in the opportunities. So most of all of our large contractors know the 30-year plan. And they know when it's coming down the pipeline at the beginning of each year at the strategic planning meetings and the task force meetings and all that. They know what's been funded for this year and what's going to come out. And it may not come out until June, but they know last June that this June we're going to work on the Buckle-Neal Bridge. We don't know until there's this big press conference and we're going to throw the dirt over our shoulders and it's
already done.
It's already done.
Everybody's already there.
And most of the people that are going to get the profitable contracting are already picked. So we need to get our contractors to a point, number one, that they understand the industry that they've chosen to be in and that they understand the language and then how to read an RFP. You have to read the whole RFP. You can't go in there and just do the electrical because the whole RFP, there may be something in there that you miss. You need to know what the GC is going to be looking for and how much time they got to get the job done.
Right.
And so the whole gamut, understanding safety plans, and then building those relationships with the project managers and superintendents, and then being able to understand the software.
Yeah.
So the StrideSphere is an 11-month program. Our first cohort is going to be, ironically, construction.
Okay.
But we're not just doing the construction industry because our businesses run the gamut. So we're doing construction, we're doing restaurant, hospitality, we're doing retail, we're doing media. That is the big deal, is the media. We need to get our media gurus that are out here that think that they have it going on. We need to get them to understand the industry of being in the media.
Absolutely.
And then I think we're going to do transportation.
Okay.
Those are some, and then as we grow, we're going to do more because the beauty industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I look at a lot of my barbers and beauticians and beauty supply stores, and our biggest mistake is they make some money, but they really don't make any money. They think they've made this big, I got a shop, I got a Mercedes, I can go on a cruise, I got a nice house in Lee Summit, my kid goes to this school. You're one thing away from bankrupt. And so understanding this industry and how big, there's maybe two actual beauty, and I'm not going to call their names, but two beauty industries in Kansas City who are doing it, and they have diversified, and they have done more than just that. But when I talk to them, it just blows my mind. But the thing is, we need more of that. We need to look at our whole entire industry so that we can actually become viable businesses. Then we're reinvesting in our businesses, but also in the communities in which we have planted our business.
Right.
That would change the whole look and feel of the urban core.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it before, and you kind of mentioned the goal being like to increase the GDP of the city. Where we have these pockets of the community, which a large one of these pockets is our own community that is dysfunctional from a business aspect. It's just not reaching its potential.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned the metaphor about the light bulb in the house.
Yeah.
Right? So we're all in the same house. And when a light bulb goes out in your house, everyone does the same thing. They change the light bulb. So all we're looking to do is just screw in a new light bulb so that this particular room can be utilized.
Yes.
Right? So it's not, as you said earlier, we were talking about the difference between the business mind and the social mind. It's the business mind, and then we're going to have social activities that work in conjunction with the business mind versus creating businesses from a social aspect that don't make any money.
That don't make any money.
Yeah.
That don't make any money. I have people that don't really care for my idea about grants and businesses. I am not one to hold back. I don't believe grants are made for business.
How do you think, in your opinion, how do grants hinder, help, hurt businesses?
So a grant will hurt a business because you have even unrestricted grants. You're not going to get what you need in order to sustain and grow your business.
Right.
Grants for businesses, the only reason that you see so many grants in the business sector right now is because of COVID. And it became the big thing to give grants to help businesses to survive. But what happened was they started giving startups grants. So now we have startups all over the place, but nobody's actually generating real revenue. And we have more businesses that, and they can say what they want to, but I can pull up for the last 3 years, these pitch competitions. And if I do the pictures, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see half of the pitchers are pitching at every competition. So you're not spending time growing your business. You're spending time pitching for a grant. And by the time you get through that and get a grant, the money's already gone. So you never crawl out of a hole. And grants are not access to capital. Because now it's not access. It's you're fighting and scraping and you're fighting with others to get that. Access to capital for a business means I can put together a good business plan. I have set myself up to have the kind of meet the kind of requirements to walk in a financial institution, lay it on the table, and it doesn't matter what color or what gender or what belief or religion or whatever it is I am. What I'm setting on the table, they're going to, and I built my relationship with my bank as well, whether it's a bank, a CDFI, a credit union, but I have access to say, I need X amount of dollars, whether it's $10 or $10 million.
Right.
I can walk in and have access. That's access to capital. A grant means that you might or might not get it. That's not access. Access is not a might or might not. And so we need to get our businesses to the point where they are lending or capital ready, where they can walk in any bank. And now if you turn me down and I've met all the requirements, now this is when me at the Black Chamber will walk in and I will expose the bank and anybody else that are, now that's where you start seeing predatory and also discriminatory lending.
Right.
So I'm looking for that. Because if I bring something into you and I meet all the requirements, I check every one of your boxes, and you tell me no anyway, then we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. And I'm not going to be quiet about that. But I'm not going to go in a bank with you because, one, you have a cookie cutter business plan because you really don't know your industry. You got projections that say, I started my business in 2024, and in 2026, I'm going to be a $10 million business, and I started and I didn't have $100 in my startup capital.
I don't mean to laugh at nobody doing that, but I do understand it.
It happens.
No,
It
because
happens.
when I started, I was doing shit like that.
Yeah. So you understand exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. So
I'm like, you want me to estimate how much money I'm gonna make? Well, I'm gonna make $5 million this year. Here it is.
Yeah. But it's not about estimation. It's about knowing your industry, knowing the trends, knowing your demographics, knowing your marketing, knowing everything that you need to know. Then you can make a proper estimate. No, you're not going to know for sure how much you're going to make, but you could pretty much see where the trends are. You can see, what your demographic is, and that you have a audience, you have a customer that will buy. And I'm not talking about your mama and them and your cousins and them and your auntie who said you just the perfect little kid and I'll buy your candy. I'm saying a demographic of people that are going to buy, kind of like the Fruit Loops. What Fruit Loops do, Fruit Loops got a big old toucan bird, and every kid in the world wanted to follow this bird.
Fruit Loops is on point, though.
Okay, yeah. A lot of sugar. But you see what I'm saying? Understanding your demographic.
And I agree with what you were saying about grants. It makes me think of the situations that exist in like Africa, for example, where first world countries like the United States, we think that we're helping them by going and dumping all these materials, these goods over there. So like we'll take tons of like T-shirts and clothing items and just dump them out on the beach. And so what people will do is they'll just go down there and just pick and pull clothing out of a
crate.
Yeah.
A broken crate, because we've dropped it out of the sky like it's trash. Go ahead.
And then what ends up happening is you don't see the clothing industry or the textile industry developing in that area because you can just go pull it off the ground.
Yeah, but it also tears up the environment.
Yeah, for sure. Because
it doesn't go into the ground, and that goes back to poor stewardship on our part. We are not protecting the earth, and wondering why we have climate change, because you're dropping crates of unused T-shirts. Championship T-shirts, because the other team won. So you're going to take the other teams and drop it over in some third world country that they're only going to take so much, and we're constantly dropping. They're only going to take so much.
Yeah, I will never forget, I was in Ethiopia. I traveled to a small area called Winchi, and they have an old volcano there, and there's a tribe of people who live inside this volcano.
Wow.
And inside, at the center of the volcano, is a volcanic lake, and at the center of that lake is an island, and that's where their church is.
Yeah.
So we travel up the side of this volcano and into the crater to interact with these people inside the crater. And one of the first little kids who came running up to me had a Bugs Bunny T-shirt on. And I was like, damn.
Right.
How the hell did Bugs Bunny get all the way inside the crater?
Hollywood.
Inside a volcanic crater in Ethiopia. Bugs Bunny in there. The clothing, you know what I mean? And so it is something else. But so as far as like what we've discussed with the Black community, the relationship to business, changing the mindset, social mindset versus business minded. What do you think makes the Heartland Black Chamber most attractive to partners to invest in it, to assist the Black Chamber in developing and creating a thriving business empire where there are not thriving businesses currently?
So I come from corporate America. So my first mindset is ROI. So what is going to be the return on their investment? And most corporations have something that they want. So let's take T-Mobile, which is one of my best partners, because our corporations are not members; they're partners. So what would what could T-Mobile gain from being a member or being a partner with the Heartland Black Chamber? Well, what do they want most? Customers.
Customers. That's it.
They want everybody to get their cell phones at T-Mobile.
I got T-Mobile.
They're on my board.
Good.
The thing is, how do I make, not only that, corporations are looking for talent. Mm-hmm. And honestly, when you start talking about, when you get to the real nuts and bolts of a corporation, they really don't care below C-suites, your race. They want talent. They want people to come in that can make and generate revenue. Each job is supposed to make their own salary and then bring in a profit. So what we can offer them is, one, a talent pool, a pool of successful, whatever level you need. If it's an engineer, we want to develop a pool of young engineers through our HYPE program. Mm-hmm. If you are in the tech world, we want anyone in technology, the media. They want the best talent that they can find, and they want customers. So what we're designing and what we've said is, we want partners, not members. We want you to sit at the table with us and help us to strategize on how do we become one Kansas City. Because when we have a community that has become more dependent, become independent, and able to invest in the GDP of Kansas City, we become a spotlight across the world. We want to get rid of the public safety issue that we have. We want to get rid of the education disparity that we have. On a whole, corporations don't want that bad taste or that stigma. And they don't want stigma, and they don't want that guilt put on them that they owe the community to fix it. They don't mind investing in it if it's going to do something. Mm-hmm. But it's just like you get a hole in your tire, and your tire has a hole on the side, so you got to replace the tire. Are you going to go buy a brand new tire, or are you going to buy another tire that the thread is not all the way gone? It's only going to cost me $25, but in about 6 months, I'm going to have to get another one. Mm-hmm. Which one are you going to do? Are you going to invest in a brand new tire and know that I've got 100,000 miles, 5 years, 100,000 miles on a tire that I might pay a couple of $300-$400 for? Mm-hmm. Or am I going to penny pinch and just check this box every 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, you got to do it over again. You're going to pay $60, but you're going to be back in here in 90 days.
In 90 days, paying another $60, and then another $60. And by the time you get through, you spend
$300.
You spend $300, gets a new tire. And so what we have to offer partnership is true partnership. Let's have your name on something that, number one, we get people out of your pocket. We're going to get out of your pocket. What we're going to do is take that money and we're going to invest in creating businesses that are investing not only in themselves, but in the community in which they serve. And understanding that there is social responsibility for all businesses. We can't just put the social responsibility on the large corporations. Right. As a business, I have a social responsibility to make sure that my business is providing something where it sits. So if my business is sitting at 57th and Truce or 57th and Prospect, what am I giving to 57th and Prospect? What is my business doing to develop anything in that community? Am I employing anybody that can walk around the corner and come to work every day? Am I keeping the street clean? A perfect example right now is Ruby Jeans. I look at what Chris Good is doing up there on Truth.
Shout out to Chris Good.
Shout out to Chris Good because, a lot of people don't understand how big it is for him to go out and clean the bus stop.
Yeah, himself.
Yeah. Keep his parking lot clean. Keep his store clean. That attracts people to come to his store. They feel safe and secure when they walk in there because there's not a lot of trash. It doesn't cost us anything to pick up the trash.
Right.
It doesn't cost us anything, even in our neighborhoods, by our homes, to get the tires or to call the city and say, hey, they're dumping trash and tires over here. Somebody needs to come get it. But as long as we're not saying anything and as long as we're letting it happen, so the thing is getting the investment in order to build a team whose sole focus is to help our businesses understand being businesses and then training them on how to reinvest. You don't know what you don't know. But when you see that how your retention not only increases your revenue and increases your profitability and increases your growth and your sustainability, but it also opens the door for more businesses like you to come and sit in that same neighborhood and make it more safe. And the more businesses you have doing the same thing, the safer it is. Now, I had someone say to me, well, look at the businesses in Waldo, and they're breaking into those. Okay, I get that, but you know what the problem is over in Waldo? They're too comfortable. They're too comfortable. There's no way that they should have that many break-ins, and yet none of y'all have alarm systems. You don't have cameras. I had all that in my house. So, and they're not that expensive. So, miss me with they're breaking in. Thieves are not going to just keep going to the same spot unless they have accessibility.
Yeah, they're looking for the easiest routes.
The easiest routes. Crime. So stop missing me with that. Waldo is getting hit because they're not secure. They're comfortable. They believe they felt so comfortable and secure in the fact that we're Waldo. We're a great community. I hear them on TV. We just did not expect Clutch My Pearls. This happened in my community. It happens in every community.
Yeah.
Your expectation was it wouldn't happen to you, so you were comfortable and you were left open and vulnerable. You're a business. And then even looking at Waldo, they're not as clean as they used to be either. So let's go there.
But I like where you're going because what you're describing is you're not only teaching someone how to fish, you're teaching them how to get very good at fishing.
Yeah.
So that they could catch enough fish to not only feed their family,
but to feed the neighborhood.
They could feed the neighborhood. Yeah. They could package it.
I guess I should have talked about Project Fish, huh? You cued me 10 times and I still missed it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is truly what we want to do. We want to teach a man to fish. Or woman, because we have this mindset now that we can't use the word man without saying woman. Yeah. So, mankind, we want to do that. And I think that has been our mistake because that's what we did before. If we want to go back to how we thrived before, we taught each other how to fish.
Apprenticeships, guilds, these things were common practice.
Common practices.
They existed in every business.
Yeah.
You could go to a business and get an apprenticeship. It wasn't an internship.
It was an apprenticeship.
Right. An internship means you coming in, you're going to do something, then you're moving on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
An apprenticeship means you're coming in to be a part of this industry.
Yes.
You're coming in to learn, and you're going to invest.
Absolutely.
They're going to invest in you, and then you're going to, in turn, invest in that business. And then hopefully you're going to carry those experiences further, maybe in your own business or even in that particular business, going up the ranks.
Yeah. And that's on the business side. But on the other side, and industry's looking for this too, we need to bring the community up to what's going on in our next generation as we grow. I mean, you look at SpaceX. You look at people now have private space expeditions.
Yeah, you want to go to space? How about Wednesday?
Right. I mean, but I look at, so the biosciences,
Yeah.
There's biotech, biomedicine, everything's bio. Okay, but we don't, in our community, we don't even have that conversation. You talk about global warming. We don't have that conversation. AI. Oh my God. AI AI has become my friend. No, AI is, I just heard a news report this morning, and they were talking about that there is going to be a entry level jobs that are going to be gone because they're going to be using AI. Well, if you get rid of entry level, who is going to learn to get to senior level? So pretty soon, and you don't see the pathway of AI taking over, but somebody's going to have to learn how to maneuver and master the AI system. Otherwise, AI is going to take over, and you're going to be able to have the top one, not 1%, the top one who is going to control everything that happens through a computer or through technology, and we'll all be standing around like waiting on them to tell us when to move.
AI and robotics is kind of scary, even for me when I think about it, because what it reminds me of is different stages of human history, like the Bronze Age into the Iron Age, or the Industrial Revolution into the mechanized revolution, and stuff like that. And at each one of these points, the people who had access to the new technology, their level of wealth just
skyrocketed.
Skyrocketed. Yeah, and everybody else is just on the opposite end of that until they get pulled up years later.
Yes, exactly. I was just thinking the other day, and I'm not even going to tell my age. I'm going to say this. My husband and I were talking about just in our lifetime, what the changes that we've seen that have occurred at a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
At a blink of an eye, the things that you would see on Lost in Space and Star Trek and Buck Rogers back in my parents' days.
Twilight Zone.
Those types of things are behind the advancement today.
Yeah.
And so think about, I remember the first time I saw the Tupac, because Tupac's my favorite rapper. There's no other rapper in the world, let me hear you, that's going to ever outdo Tupac. So I love all of y'all, but Tupac is the king. Mm-hmm. But the hologram that they did of Tupac.
Oh, yeah, the concert. Yeah.
So in this generation, it's like, oh, yeah, ain't nothing. In my generation, it was like, whoa, so you think...
we living in space, y'all.
Right. Next thing you know, they're going to say is, beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking about how fast technology is moving and how far behind we're getting, we're in an urgent space. Mm-hmm. You can keep your mind set on, and I know people are going to probably send, y'all going to get all kinds of hate mail behind this statement. God bless Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman, yeah.
God bless her. But y'all can't keep living on Harriet Tubman because she did her job.
Yeah, she did.
She did her job. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
She freed the people. Are you going to help to keep them in bondage because you refuse to learn more about what you need to know in order to move with the tides?
It reminded me when my dad taught me how to swim, and I asked him what was he going to do if I started to drown, and he was like, "I can't swim for you." So you got to figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And now is the perfect opportunity. I say this all the time. People talk about we're standing on the backs of our ancestors. We are walking on their heads because they died so that we could do better, and we won't. We won't. We just want to wave their flag and talk about how they were assassinated or slaughtered, but we will not make the same sacrifice. Mm-hmm. You're gonna die anyway.
That's true.
So, die doing something.
Yeah.
Die doing something.
Yeah. Versus dying doing nothing.
versus die doing nothing. We have to stop being afraid to stand up. And it doesn't mean that we got to go out here and burn up our community and throw rocks and pilferage and ransack places. That's not the answer, because that's the expectation. Mm-hmm. Never let them see you sweat. That was the best commercial that ever came out. That was that Dow deodorant commercial. You never let them see you sweat. We let them see us sweat every time we react to something in a negative manner. Mm-hmm. How do we sit down and strategize and figure out how do we get through the system and be a part of the system and not be against the system? Mm.
That's awesome, because that brings us back full circle to the light bulb in the house. And with that, I think we're at time.
Change the bulb.
We got to change the bulb. Any last words? Anything else you want to say?
I just want to say that I see what you guys are doing. And when I took this space right here, or when I took this job right here, every step I've always said, God, send me the resources, send me the people. And he has, and he continues to do so. And I want to shout out AGA. I mean, the production company, the people, the staff, And if you like what they're doing, hit like, give us a comment, hit that alert button.
Alert bell.
Yeah. And what else am I supposed to do? The little bell. Hit the little bell.
That's it. Like, subscribe,
subscribe.
Alert bell. Thank you very much, Kim, for that shout out. And I want to shout you out as well, because let me tell y'all what Ms. Davis did for us. She believed in us. She gave us an opportunity to have a space. And one thing that we've struggled with as a new and upcoming business was not only were we not being taken seriously just because of the industry that we're in, the filmmaking industry, the media industry, but people look at you as a business. If you don't have like a brick and mortar location, it changes people's perception of you, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in it. I don't think it should be like that, but it does. If you can go to a physical location, this is when people really start to believe that you have achieved that status as a business.
Yes.
And even speaking from the federal contracting side, you have to have a physical location to even get a federal contract. So just to put that all into perspective, that's how important having a space is. And Mrs. Davis allowed us to have a space. So she really provided us with that opportunity. And as soon as we got that opportunity, one of our biggest opportunities landed on us, where we produced a Lifetime movie. And the first thing they asked us was, can we rent your space as a production office? And we said, yes, we can.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's reinvesting in one another.
Yeah.
And that's what we do as a chamber. We try to reinvest in our businesses so that you can have that. Because one day you're going to blow up, and you're going to blow up out of here. And now when y'all get to the Oscars.
We ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, when y'all get to the Oscars, I just want to know, I don't want to be in the rafters. I want to be at the table. So when y'all say, no, seriously, you all are going places. And but that's how we help each other get there. That's exactly what they did in Oklahoma. When someone came in, they handed them what they needed in order to start and in order to grow. And instead of always looking for something that we really don't have, how can I give you a hand up and not expect anything in return? And so, or how do we barter?
Yeah.
How do we give each other an ROI? So it was my pleasure. Heck, I'm gonna be a movie star down here one of these days. Y'all gonna put my pictures up here.
We're gonna have her up on these posters right here. We're gonna do Ward 2, starring Miss Kim Davis.
So whose grandmother am I gonna be?
No, you gonna be the secret agent.
Oh.
You gonna be like, hold on, y'all, stand still so I can.
Granny secret agent.
Stand still, y'all, so I can shoot you. Pew, pew.
Don't move. Wait a minute. Did you get that, Ron? All right.
All right. Thank y'all. Tune in next time. We'll see you.
Thank you.
I free my mind. I free my time. Everything go round just where it's supposed to be.